My name is Mr. Watson. This is the introduction to the Year 8 options process. You'll hear from myself, you'll hear from Mrs. Seagrove, other assistant head teacher. You'll hear from Mr. Powell, who's, as you all know, head of Year 8, and you will hear from heads of the core faculties within the school. Our vision means that we produce students who excel academically, but our vision also means that we expect them to excel spiritually and socially, and that we produce students who are well-rounded individuals, who don't just pass sets of exams, but have something to say for themselves and make an impact on our community and the community around them. They're supportive, challenging and caring. At St Bernard's, we are a school which lives out its mission statement every day. The Bernardine sisters left us a legacy when they left the school, and that legacy comprised of several things. Firstly, it comprised of prayer and worship at the centre of our lives, but it also left a legacy of forgiveness, compassion and love being central to the way that the students in the school treat each other. Academic results are excellent, outstanding, but what really pleases us is that our students show these values in school on a day-to-day basis. On this slide, we can see the St Bernard's curriculum model. We have the 4 core subjects: science, English, RE and mathematics. That's our core curriculum. We also have our foundation subjects: humanities, creative and performing arts, languages and emerging technologies. Now, all of these are fundamental to the learning experience at St Bernard's and play a central part to developing the characteristics of a St Bernard's learner. I think the core curriculum is very self-explanatory. Students all do RE GCSE. Students all do English language and English literature. Students will do mathematics, and most students will do either math statistics or additional maths as well. In science, students will study the separate sciences, biology, chemistry and physics, but towards the end of the course, some may end up dropping down to double science. That's the double award, which is some biology, some chemistry and some physics in a slightly reduced format. For the emerging technologies, we have business, we have computing, we have design technology or product design, and we have economics at A level. In humanities, we have history and geography, and at A level, we have psychology and sociology. The languages we offer are French, Spanish, Latin and Japanese. St Bernard's has one of the most successful languages faculties in the country. We have an extremely high uptake of languages, with many students taking 2 languages. Languages form a very academic basis for their application to the 6th form at the school, and also support a very academic profile for university entry. We also have the creative and performing arts, PE, art, drama and music. Again, St Bernard's is very strong at the academic, but is also extremely strong and has an extremely proud tradition in the performing and creative arts. The core curriculum includes PHSCE, Personal, Health, Social and Citizenship Education, Literacy and Numeracy, and Moral, Spiritual, Citizenship Values. And that, of course, comes centrally from the Catholic ethos of the school. However, that's the core curriculum. The school also has a very extensive co-curricular offer. We have a large opportunity for students to enrich themselves, be it through STEM, through arts, through sports. Walk around St Bernard's and you'll see art covering our walls that's been done by our students. Look out on our playing fields, you'll see sports teams playing. We have a very proud record in football and netball at both a county and a national level. You'll hear music, you'll hear drama, you'll hear the sound of happy students. We also have an extensive fundraising network, and we constantly are raising money for national and international charities. We also have a partnership with the Sinetemba High School in Johannesburg in South Africa, where we provide materials and support that perhaps they wouldn't get otherwise. At St Bernard's, we're lucky enough to have very talented students, students who have great depth of knowledge and interest in a wide group of subject areas. As such, we do a 3-year Key Stage 4 curriculum. This allows our students to spend more time doing project work and independent study at GCSE, which prepares them for A-level and then from A-level for university. It is the case, of course, that amongst the pandemic, Key Stage 3 has been further shortened, but we'll be using the time in Key Stage 4 to make sure that we address any gaps in learning that may have occurred. Bernard's. Well, students will study 8 core GCSEs. They will study RE, they will study English language, they will study English literature, and they'll study mathematics. For most students, they will study either additional maths or math statistics. Most students will also do triple science, that's the separate sciences, chemistry, biology and physics. A small number may end up doing the double award science, that is still biology, chemistry and physics, but a smaller content matter for each one. That is something that will be decided sometime in year 11.
So now you know you have 8 core subjects that you will be needing to take, and also PE and PHSE. But there are 4 option choices that you now have to make. Some of the things you need to consider are: what are the subjects you are better at? What do you do well in? Which subjects do you do well in tests and therefore you know your performance is good? However, even though this is important, what is more important is that you enjoy the subject. So in other words, what subjects do you take pleasure in doing? That you enjoy doing the homework even if they're difficult? The ones that you can spend time on and time just seems to disappear. Taking these 2 things in consideration, what you're good at and what you enjoy, will help you decide the options that you should choose. One last consideration should be if you know the career you might wish to pursue later on in life, and if so, consider the subjects that will support this career. You're not expected to make these decisions on your own. You will obviously have support and guidance from your parents, but also remember that staff at St Bernard's are also available to help you make the decisions about your options. They will have a clear understanding of where their subjects lead. They will also be able to talk about some questions that you might have, having read the details about the GCSE courses. Keeping a broad and balanced curriculum is essential at this point, because many of you will not know the A-level choices you're going to make in the future. You also will be unaware of the sort of career you may wish to move into. And so by keeping this broad and balanced curriculum, it will enable you to keep open as many avenues as possible for the future. One last thing. It can be very tempting to make the same choices as your friends. But rather than thinking about what they are doing, worry about what you will enjoy and will be good at. At the end of the day, it won't be your friends that will be taking your GCSEs. It will be you. You're the one that's going to have to do all the hard work. You're the one who's going to have to put the time and effort in order to get the good grades. So it's therefore very important that you choose the subjects and the options that will be best for you and you alone. One other thing to consider is don't think about the teachers that are teaching the subjects, because you may not be taught by them next year. So once again, it's all about you, your preferences, and the subjects you enjoy and do best at.
What we can see here are the choices we have to make. However, the way that the school organises its timetable means we have to stick to the rules on these options. Currently, we offer our options in 4 blocks. There are 4 blocks and 4 options. The St Bernard's curriculum requires each student to study a language and each student to study a humanity, that's geography or history. It is only possible to do one subject in each block. So for instance, you could not do French and history in block 1. You can only do one subject per block. This is because the lessons are literally on at the same time. So French in block 1 will have a period 1 lesson on a Tuesday. So will history in block 1. You cannot study those two at the same time. However, we've tried to disperse the subjects over different option blocks to make popular combinations possible. I know that occasionally there are cases where we can't do that. In over 98% of cases, we do satisfy pupils' first options. Occasionally, we have to move subjects and option blocks, either due to demand in that option block or small numbers of students taking a course. We will always try and keep a course running where possible. When students get their options form, now that may be electronic or it may be a physical options form, depending on the return to school, there will be a form that has to be filled in and students will select from one option in each block. One of which has to be a language, one of which has to be a humanity.
Hello, I'm Mr. Powell, Head of Year 8. I'm going to briefly talk to you about how to select options and also signpost you to some key dates in the options process diary. As the slide says, choices can take time. It is important that you do not feel rushed in making a decision and that you feel confident in the options you select. As you will know, the students have recently received their CCA results. These, combined with the November results, should give you a gauge as to which option subjects your son or daughter will do well in. Over the next few weeks, form tutors will be dedicating tutorial time to the options process. Students will reflect on their academic studies and start thinking about which options will be good for them. Students will also be given the opportunity to ask their subject teachers questions about the GCSE course. This will take place during lesson time over the next few weeks. I would like to reinforce that it is important that students select options that they will enjoy as opposed to simply the subjects they have the highest marks in. And of course, there is a deadline. The electronic option forms will be issued to students by email on Wednesday the 10th of March following the parent consultation evening. These forms will then need to be returned by Friday the 12th of March.
A reminder, of course, that in recent years, GCSEs have changed their grading structure. Now, GCSEs have 9 grades, with 9 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. So 7 is roughly equivalent to the old A grade, and 8 and 9 are roughly equivalent to the old A star grade, with 9 being a super A star. A 4 is now a pass, and a 5 is a strong pass.
Here you'll be able to see some of the key dates in the options process. As I've mentioned in my letter, the core and option subjects have created information flyers that will be available on the school website on the 22nd of February, which will be the first day back after half term. These flyers will give you all the need to know information about the different subject areas. You will then be able to use the parent consultation evening to ask any questions and also get some feedback from the subject teacher on their progress. This will hopefully help to inform your decisions. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. You'll now hear from the core subject heads of department who will take you through their GCSE course outline. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Mr. Dunford, and I am second in Department of English. I also serve within that role as head of Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 5. Ms. Zadov is the head of department, and she oversees not just my role and the whole English faculties, but also serves as head of Key Stage 4 English. I will be giving you an overview of GCSE at St. Bernard's. Here you will find a quote that says, "From reading of good books, there comes a richness of life that can be obtained in no other way," by Gordon B. Hinckley. Now this quote is quite important in relation to our studying of English at St. Bernard's, because we feel that the texts that we study in Year 9, Year 10, and Year 11 all help to give a richness, a diverse richness of literature, and help students develop and cultivate skills that are needed for their GCSEs. Okay, this slide shows you the two different GCSEs that your son or daughter would obtain at St. Bernard's. So at St. Bernard's, English language and English literature are both compulsory subjects. Both subjects are taught by the same teacher, and they're both taught intermittently throughout the 2 years. Year 9 will serve as a taster, or I guess you could say a foundation year, in developing your son or daughter's awareness of what assessment objectives and texts will be studied at GCSE. You'll be able to see right here that the language exam and the literature exam are both broken up into two examinations: Paper 1 and Paper 2 for language, and Paper 1 and Paper 2 for literature. If you'd like to have further information about this, you can see at the bottom that we have AQA. This is our chosen exam board. AQA provides a lot of materials, both online and also within stores that help cultivate students' knowledge of the text that we study. It's important to recognize this because we do not study OCR at GCSE level. It is AQA. But once again, we are focusing in Year 9 at developing the core foundation skills to help your son or daughter excel at the GCSE level. Okay, on this slide I'm going to be speaking about the language GCA and the components of the language GCSE. You will see that on the slide we have that divided into the two papers, Paper 1 and Paper 2, each weighted 50%. So first, Paper 1. Paper 1 is divided into two sections, each worth 40 marks. The first section is a reading section, which will have your son or daughter read one unseen fiction text and answer 4 questions in relation to that text. Section B is a writing response, where your son or daughter will have the option of doing one of two things. They can either do a descriptive writing task or a narrative writing task. Some of the assessment objectives and the skills needed for both those tasks overlap, but over the course of Year 9, 10, and 11, your son or daughter will learn what distinguishes those two writing modes and how to address the assessment objectives within them. Now for Paper 2, once again it's divided into two sections, each 40 marks. We have two sections. The first section is reading, which there will be 2 nonfiction texts. Both of those texts come from 2 different time periods or 2 different centuries, but they also have the same thematic component. Your son or daughter will have to answer 4 questions in relation to those 2 readings. In section B of the exam, it's a writing section, and this is where your son or daughter will have to present a point of view on a selected topic. When doing this topic, it will be in relation to the previous 2 readings. For example, if the previous 2 readings focused on sports, your son or daughter might have to write a speech about the value of sports in the writing section. So everything is linked thematically. Additionally, in relation to section B, the writing section, when it's present a point of view, this could be in the form of a leaflet, a blog, a letter, a speech, or a newspaper article. That is done to the discretion of the exam board, and your son or daughter will have to write in the desired register for that section of the exam. Now, one of the most common questions that we get is how your son or daughter can prepare, at least throughout the summer or other types of reading in their spare time. And we certainly advocate and think that the students that do really well on the language exam are students that read from lots of different types of texts. So whether that be newspaper articles, magazines, editorials, blogs, any pieces of nonfiction, biographies will be helpful to be exposing your son or daughter to a wide range and assortment of different nonfiction texts that will help to cultivate their understanding of how nonfiction texts are written and also how to deconstruct a piece of nonfiction. Okay, I'm going to move on to the literature exam. I just spoke about language. So you'll see on this slide that we have, once again, it's broken up into 2 papers for the English language GCSE. Paper 1 is 40% of the grade, and that's an hour and 45 minutes. Paper 2, 60% of the grade, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Now, the reason why one is longer than the other is because you can see in paper 2 it contains 3 sections, as opposed to paper 1 we have 2 sections. Now, the texts that are being focused on that we study here at St. Bernard's in relation to your literature exam, paper 1 is Romeo and Juliet, that's the Shakespeare text, and that will be an extract-based exam question. Section B is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which once again is an extract-based exam question. Both of those texts will be texts that will be assessed within that paper 1. Now, paper 2 has 3 sections, as I mentioned. Section A on paper 2 is what is called the modern text. At St. Bernard's, we study the play An Inspector Calls. That will be a question where your son or daughter will have a choice between 2 questions, and they are questions that are either related to a theme within the play or a character within the play. That is not an extract-based question. The section B of the exam is the anthology or poetry question. Your son or daughter will be given AQA poetry anthology free of charge from the exam board. This anthology will contain 2 clusters of poems. The poem that we study is the Power and Conflict cluster. In that cluster of poems are a range of poets and poems from different eras that all relate to the themes of power and conflict. Your son or daughter needs to know all of those poems in that cluster because your son or daughter will be asked a question about one of those poems where he or she needs to compare that poem to another poem in the cluster. So this is a comparative assessment piece. The last section in paper 2 is section C. This is known as the unseen poetry section. As you would expect, it is an unseen poetry question. Your son or daughter will see a poem between 15 and 20 lines long, and he or she will have to answer a question that is based upon a theme or topic related to that unseen poem. At the end of that section C, there's an additional question that has your son or daughter compare that aforementioned poem to a new shorter poem and that links to that same theme. And that is worth 8 marks as opposed to the 24 marks in the unseen poem. On this slide, although it might be a little bit difficult to see, is a year 9 sequence of work or schemes of work and how the year plays out in year 9. So you'll see on the left-hand side all the different literature or language exam components that are covered over the course of the year. And then you'll see at the top row all the terms and also the exams that are taken, the summative exams to assess the skills that your son or daughter would have obtained and developed within those units. Now, typically in year 9, the first text that gets studied is Macbeth. Macbeth is studied to develop and once again cultivate and expose students to the skills and the requirements of the Shakespeare section of the GCSE literature paper, paper 1. Once that is done, then students will go on to studying the novel. Now, some teachers will study Lord of the Flies. Some teachers will study To Kill a Mockingbird, and some teachers will study Animal Farm. This will overlap into autumn term 2. Now, in the spring term, the focus will be on the language paper 2, section B, which is a creative writing, which is a writing piece. And then moving on to spring 2 and summer 1, you will see language paper 2 once again, and then also language paper 1, section A. Towards the end of the year, focus will be on the unseen poetry. In year 10, the GCSE, once again, the literature and language exam is on the left-hand side, and on the top row we have all the different terms and where certain texts fall in. In year 10, the first thing that is studied is An Inspector Calls. This text is studied in the first half term of autumn 1, and then it is followed by the Power and Conflict Poetry cluster that I mentioned 2 slides ago. That comes over because there's a number of poems that need to be studied. It then goes into spring 1. Also in spring 1, for the last 4 weeks, students will learn and cultivate their skills with the unseen poetry. Once that is completed, then in spring 2, we have students start to study the language exam 2 and section A and then section B. And then finally, in the summer term, you will see that Shakespeare is studied, and we also have with Romeo and Juliet, and we also have the delivery of the spoken language component, which is compulsory for all GCSE students, where students have to write a speech, field questions about that speech, and deliver that in front of a live audience. And that lasts between 6 and 10 minutes long. Year 11 is mostly a revision year, but there are two texts that we still are studying in year 11 that are very important in relation to the literature exam. No, I'm sorry, one text. And that text is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So you'll find that in the autumn term, most of the focus will be on the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And then when we go into spring 1 and spring 2, it's focused on the language exam, 1, section A and section B, and also on revision for the language exam, section 2. In the summer term, we have GCSE exams at the end when students leave, and then we also focus on revising for the inspector calls and also poetry. One last thing I wanted to say about the previous 3 slides is that some of the arrangements of these, the sequencing of these different texts may change depending upon circumstances related to the department. Okay, the final note that I want to give in relation to the English GCSE has to do with resources in the class. So all GCSE students and also Year 9 students see their teacher 3 times per week. So a total of 6 times over 2 weeks. Classes are all mixed ability. The average class size is roughly 26, no more than 26. Some classes are 24 and 25. There's a wide range of resources that we use and we put up digitally and we share with students that range from exemplar resources to revision booklets to audio guides. And these resources are put up on either Office 365 in the shared folders that we distribute and we make students aware of. But we also share this via class charts. Lastly, for Year 11 students and also for Year 10 students and 9 students, we are developing and we have developed resources that can be used for revision for those year groups. Most of those resources are more related to Year 11 and Year 10. But we are starting to collate resources that are relevant to Year 9 that can be used for the CCAs or any other examinations that we do.
Hi, my name's Amarpreet Singh Kulard and I'm the head of maths at St Bernard's Catholic Grammar School. And I just want to start this virtual evening with just introducing what the aims of GCSE maths is and the various options we have. We're quite fortunate at St Bernard's. We have a variety of routes that students can choose or put onto based on their academic ability and what's the most appropriate course for students. And the intentions of these decisions are to ensure that our students achieve the very best in whatever course they will be doing. So what are the aims of GCSE mathematics? Well, we try to ensure our students are confident at applying the skills they learn in class to solve problems. And essentially that is what we aim to do every single lesson. We teach concepts and then we apply them to problems. So we want our students to be really good problem solvers, strong problem solvers. We want them to have fluent knowledge and skills and be able to apply their skills to mathematical models and the application to solve problems, but also making decisions. Thinking, does my answer, does this make sense? Does this look right? These are the kind of questions we want our students to be able to analyze and then make deductions about. We also, by offering the GCSE statistics course to the vast majority of our students, we're empowering them with more information on how data works and how data is manipulated, and that's a massive score in this day and age. So what is the structure in year 9, 10 and 11? In end of year 8, we essentially ensure all students will be put into sets of 6 sets for 5 tutor groups. So there will be, the top set will be a class of, pretty much 32, whereas set 6 will be a smaller class of about 22 students. And what we try and do is match appropriate courses to students' academic ability. Why? Is because we want students to be able to do the very, very best in GCSE mathematics. That is our priority course. So no extra course or work we do will compromise achieving the very highest grade in that. So our top set, which will be traditionally called in year 9 and year 10, will finish the GCSE mathematics, and then towards the end of year 11, end of year 10, sorry, we'll start the additional mathematics course. All testing will take place in year 11. Our middle set, so that will be set 2, 3, 4, and 5, they will be doing GCSE mathematics, but in year 10, they will start and finish the GCSE statistics course, which is another qualification which we offer, and one of the very few schools in Slough that offer that qualification. So the vast majority of our students will walk out with 2 mathematics-based qualifications. And last but not least, our support set, who we just focus on from year 9 to 11, teaching them the GCSE mathematics at a good pace, with periods built in for retrieval practice, with periods built in for revision. And the aim is that these students do the very best in GCSE mathematics, and we don't allow any compromise on this grade. So what we try and do is provide them over 3 years with strong knowledge, strong good teaching, and that will then allow them to succeed and get the highest possible grade in GCSE mathematics. There are a significant amount of maths resources available online. 3 which we promote as a school and what we want students to use are the Student Drive, a one-stop shop which basically has everything you could ever need for resources all on there. The links have been sent out to students on various occasions, and there's exam questions, videos, everything on there. Dr. Frost Maths is our online learning portal, and I'm sure you've seen this through your students, through your children, and this is another fantastic resource. Lots of exam questions based and lots of videos as well. And finally is Corbett Maths. We use this for review and revision. So if teachers want to remind students of a concept, they may link in a Corbett Maths video. You can go onto this yourself. There's also another website called Maths Genie, which is just as good. Lots of exam question practices and mark schemes on there as well. So by tailoring the resources, by signposting specific resources, we're saying to students, this is what the best stuff is out there. Use this rather than trying to do random things online. And we signpost these to students on a regular basis, and you're more than welcome to check them out as well. We all want our young people to succeed, parents, students, and the young students themselves as well. And the best way to do it is to work together. I really promote this idea when I talk to parents and parents evening, is support us and we will support you as much as we can. We need to work together to achieve the very best. Help us with deadlines, encourage students to work and revise their assessments, and encourage independent work on Dr. Frost as well. The students could go on in their own time and work through the key skills part of Dr. Frost, which are all the key skills in GCSE mathematics, and they can work through them, see their confidence growing, their skill application improving through exam questions, and they'll be actually then doing more independent work, which will give them the right mindset and skills to succeed. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Mr. Brophy, I'm the Head of Science at St. Bernard's Catholic Grammar, and I'm just going to take you on a brief journey through the curriculum we offer our students at GCSE. So students, when they were in Year 7 and Year 8, have been studying a slightly modified version of AQA's Activate programme of study. We've modified it to add an additional challenge for our students, and this leads very nicely into the GCSE course which AQA provides. So we follow AQA's separate sciences, and we start straight away in Year 9, and the separate science programme will result in students obtaining 3 GCSEs at the end of Year 11, 1 in biology, 1 in chemistry, and 1 in physics. There is also a combined science programme that is offered to some students, but that's a discussion which occurs between teachers, parents and students in Year 11. The structure of course is such that all the examinations are at the end of Year 11. It's a linear course, and there are 6 papers in total, 2 papers for each of the sciences. Paper 1 of each science tends to be geared towards the earlier topics, the first half of the course content, and paper 2 is geared towards the second half of the course content. It's not just about content though, there are other skills which we teach in science and which are actually assessed as well in the examinations. Things like investigative skills, being able to analyse things, drawing conclusions and planning as well. The AQA course is also very beneficial to us because the resources available are always kept up to date. So like many of the other subjects, we offer free access to the Caboodle digital platform, which provides a digital textbook as well as various resources to help students develop their knowledge and understanding and make good progress. So in Year 8, currently, the students experience 5 science lessons per fortnight. In Year 9, this will change, and it will change further in Year 10 and Year 11. So in Year 9, students will get 2 biology lessons per fortnight, 2 chemistry and 2 physics, and where possible these will be taught by specialist teachers in those areas. In addition to the individual science disciplines, there will be a single lesson per fortnight allocated to scientific skills. It's an area which AQA have identified as being slightly weaker nationally, and it's also an area we'd like to develop at St Bernard's because it gives students skills beyond the scope of science and will help them in their future lives as well. In Year 10 and Year 11, the science skills session is embedded within the individual science disciplines, and students will have 3 biology, 3 chemistry and 3 physics lessons per fortnight. We also encourage students to participate in more extracurricular activities at GCSE. There are more opportunities available to us run by external companies. These tend to be run on an ad hoc basis depending on when companies are running them. Furthermore, we're trying to increase student leadership, and so we'll be reintroducing our school's Eco Club in the very near future, which Year 9 will be playing a key part of next year. And we're going to be reintroducing the idea of a science or STEM club as well to support students where need be. Students taught in mixed ability groups. That's very similar to the situation now, that we will shuffle them slightly to get students to work with people they may not have worked with before. But mixed ability groupings have been proven to be more effective in science to get students to make maximum progress. We do not set on ability. Class sizes will stay roughly the same size as well, with an average of 26 to 27 students per class. So that's a very brief overview of the curriculum we offer in science at St Bernard's. I hope it's been of some use. Of course, please don't hesitate to get in touch if you have any questions. Thank you for listening.
Hello, I'm Mr. Turnham. I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview of the RE syllabus that all students do as part of the GCSE and what they can expect to see through years 9, 10 and 11. So at the beginning of Year 9, we study an introductory work. We look at both Catholic and other religious approaches to philosophy and ethics, and we have a real study of the underlying principles of how people engage in the world, followed by a depth study of Islam to build the skills of studying a religion that they haven't looked at in that level of depth up until this point. And these are all designed to give them the core skills that are necessary to be able to achieve well in the religious studies GCSE course, while at the same time we work on developing their ability to answer exam style questions and give them the chance to really practice and get a deeper understanding of what that involves. After we finish those parts, usually around the February half term, we then move on to start following the AQA Religious Studies B course. And students are taught in mixed classes for GCSE, so they're taken out of their forms. Usually they're paired with the classes that they use for science. So it'll be students they're used to working with, but it gives us a slightly smaller, more focused group that we can work with, and it allows us to share the expertise of all of our teachers so that they're getting the very best quality of education. At the end of the course, they will sit 2 exams. The first exam is a Catholic Christianity exam, and that is worth 50% of the marks. The second exam is the wider religious issues exam, and that's Judaism and ethical themes. Ethical themes is studying core aspects of both religious and British society understanding, and it covers areas of both citizenship and religious studies to really get an understanding of the impact that different people's attitudes have on the world around them. Judaism, because it's necessary to study a second religion, and the guidance that the Catholic schools have been given is that we ought to study Judaism as a second religion. However, that's why we study the Islam content that would be available for an exam starting the actual GCSE topics, so that students get the absolute maximum input and understanding of what they are encountering in the world. There is a textbook, the GCSE Religious Studies B for AQA. We offer a free access through Caboodle, but we will also provide the title for anyone who wishes to purchase it in the course curriculum that's available on the school website. We do set students regular homework activities. Mostly these are focused on skill development and opportunities to respond to teacher feedback, especially when it comes to the evaluation style questions that form a significant part of the marks that students need to achieve when they're in an RE exam. We set regular assessments on the school's CCA programme. These are obviously designed to give students confidence. We will do shortened ones at the end of each topic so that students are always aware of how they're doing and, more importantly, what they need to do to improve. Obviously, you are very much encouraged to look at the full curriculum details on the school website, in particular to see the exact order that we teach individual topics, so that you can see the way in which our course is designed to build up over time, give students a chance to revisit and develop ideas, and of course, they'll need to be able to support a regular revision of those ideas and to revisit key themes that we've looked at earlier in the course when we reach later points in the course. Thank you very much.